poor nurse answered a wrong call at 3 a.m. The single dad it couldn't let her go. Before we go further, please ensure to like, share, and subscribe for more interesting stories like this one. It was 3 a.m. when the sharp ring of an old flip phone shattered the silence of a tiny studio apartment. Emily Carter, a young nurse barely off a double shift, stirred from restless sleep. Her aching body resisted, but instinct won. She grabbed the phone. Unknown number. "Hello," she croaked. A man's voice burst through, urgent, shaking. "I need a nurse. My daughter. She's burning up. Please, someone help." Emily blinked. "You've got the wrong number," she said, half asleep. "I'm not on call." But then, a faint cough echoed behind his voice. "Finn." Struggling. Emily's heart tightened. She sat upright. "Where are you?" A pause. "Daniel Pierce. Hawthorne Estate. Please, someone, anyone." Emily knew the name. CEO. Widower. Mansion on the hill. "Not my patient," her mind warned. "You need rest. Let it go." But that cough, it wouldn't leave her. Minutes later, wrapped in a thin coat, Emily was out in the freezing night. She flagged a lone taxi. "Hawthorne Estate," she told the driver. He frowned but drove. The grand iron gates stood open. Beyond them, the mansion loomed, glass, steel, and shadow. Emily stepped out, breath clouding in the icy air. Before she could knock, the door swung open. There stood Daniel Pierce, disheveled, eyes bloodshot. No powerful CEO now, just a terrified father. "You came?" he whispered. "You called," Emily answered. "Where's your daughter?" He led her up cold marble stairs to a vast bedroom. There, amid towering furnishings, lay Lily, small, burning with fever, her breath shallow. Without hesitation, Emily knelt beside the girl. Hands moving with practiced calm, she checked vitals. 104.5, dangerous. "Mr. Pierce, towels, cool water." Now, she instructed. Daniel obeyed, returning with trembling hands. Emily worked steadily, cooling the child, whispering comfort. Gradually, Lily's fever eased. Her eyes fluttered open, glazed but aware. "Are you an angel?" she whispered. Emily smiled faintly. "Just a nurse, sweetheart." Behind her, Daniel exhaled, equal parts relief and disbelief. "I didn't think anyone would come," he said hoarsely. Emily rose. "You sounded like you needed help. I called an old hospital line. No idea how it reached you." She shrugged. "Sometimes the wrong call is the right one." The mansion's clock chimed 4. Snow swirled outside. Daniel met her gaze. "Please stay." "Until morning." Emily hesitated, then nodded. In that cold mansion, through a long night, a single choice had changed everything. It began with a wrong number, and a nurse who answered. Emily knelt by the massive bed, her hands moving with calm precision. Little Lily lay before her, cheeks flushed, breath shallow. Fever gripped the child's frail body. "Hang on, sweetheart," Emily whispered, placing a cool cloth across the girl's forehead. Behind her, Daniel stood frozen near the doorway. His shirt hung loose, tie discarded. His sharp features looked worn, unfamiliar in their helplessness. He cleared his throat. "I didn't expect anyone to come. I must have called an old hospital line." Emily didn't look up. "Doesn't matter now. She needs care." For the next hour, the only sounds were the rustle of linens and Lily's faint, labored breaths. Emily worked tirelessly, monitoring vitals, adjusting cool compresses, coaxing small sips of water past dry lips. Daniel hovered nearby, arms folded. His gaze flicked between Emily's worn sneakers and her steady hands. The nurse seemed young, exhausted, her coat still damp from the storm. Yet she radiated an ease he hadn't seen in years. "You've done this before," he remarked stiffly. Emily glanced at him. "Many times." His jaw tightened. "You didn't even ask about payment. Why are you really here?" "Because you needed help." He said nothing more. The hours dragged on. Midnight turned to dawn. Emily never left Lily's side, soothing her through restless sleep. From the shadows, Daniel watched. The woman before him wasn't polished or privileged. She was clearly stretched thin, her bag patched, her hands rough from long shifts. Yet her presence filled the cold mansion with a warmth it hadn't known in years. As the first light crept through the tall windows, Lily's fever finally broke. The child stirred, eyes fluttering open. "Daddy," she rasped. Daniel rushed to her side, relief washing over his strained features. "I'm here, baby. You're going to be okay." Emily stood, rolling her shoulders. Fatigue pressed down on her, but satisfaction flickered in her eyes. Daniel turned to her. "You saved her. Let me pay you handsomely." She shook her head. "No need. I was glad to help." For a moment, he stared at her, something shifting behind his guarded gaze. Emily gathered her things. As she moved to the door, a small voice called out, "Please don't go." Emily turned. Lily, still weak, was reaching out with tiny arms. Emotion caught in Emily's throat. She knelt, brushing back the child's damp curls. "I'll come back if you need me," she promised gently. Daniel watched in silence, something unfamiliar stirring within him. And as Emily stepped out into the morning light, neither of them could shake the feeling that this night had changed everything. Here is your 500-word narrative script for. Days passed. The snow melted into gray slush along the city streets. At Hawthorne Estate, warmth remained scarce. Then one evening, the fever returned. Lily lay pale and trembling, her father pacing the grand hall, phone clutched in a shaking hand. Daniel stared at the number for minutes before pressing call. Emily Carter. Her voice came through, weary but steady. "It's Lily," Daniel said quietly. "She's worse again. I need you." Emily hesitated. She'd barely slept between her hospital shifts and caring for her mother at home. Her bank account dwindled. Exhaustion tugged at every muscle. Logic told her to say no. Then a faint voice echoed through the line, Lily's. "Miss Emily?" That settled it. Emily arrived an hour later, coat buttoned against the wind, dark circles beneath her eyes. Daniel met her at the door. "You didn't have to come," she asked. Emily replied simply. Upstairs, she resumed her quiet battle, lowering Lily's fever, easing her pain. By morning, Lily was smiling weakly again. Daniel lingered in the doorway. "I can't keep asking favors. Stay. I'll pay you properly, as Lily's nurse." Emily hesitated. "I can't abandon my hospital job. Work here when you can. We'll make it work." Against her better judgment, she agreed. One visit turned into many. Soon, Emily became a fixture in the mansion. She arrived between shifts, often breathless from rushing across town. Daniel began noticing details. How she skipped meals. How her shoes were worn thin. How her phone screen was spiderwebbed with cracks. Yet when Emily entered a room, life followed. She brought coloring books, sang silly songs, and read Lily bedtime stories. The mansion's cold edges seemed to soften around her. Daniel found himself drawn to the sound of his daughter's laughter, a sound he hadn't heard since his wife's passing. Late one afternoon, as Emily crafted paper crowns with Lily in the sunroom, Daniel paused outside the glass doors, watching unseen. Lily giggled, eyes sparkling. "Daddy, look. Miss Emily made me a queen." For a moment, Daniel saw not a nurse, nor an employee, but the woman who had brought warmth back into his daughter's world. He exhaled, a tightness loosening in his chest. That night, as Emily packed her bag to leave, Daniel stopped her. "You've given Lily more than care. You've given her joy." Emily smiled softly. "She gives me plenty in return." Neither said more. The unspoken connection between them deepened with every passing day. And so, what began as a single wrong call quietly grew into something neither of them could yet name. The weeks unfolded in a rhythm neither Emily nor Daniel had expected. Her visits became more frequent, her presence almost constant. One crisp afternoon, as sunlight streamed through the mansion's tall windows, Emily sat in the library with Lily curled against her side. Storybooks lay open, forgotten, as laughter filled the once quiet room. Daniel watched from a distance. The sound of his daughter's joy had become a balm to wounds he thought would never heal. One evening, after Lily had drifted asleep, Emily lingered by the fire. For the first time, Daniel invited her to sit. They spoke of simple things, books, music, the weather. The conversation meandered until the space between them grew comfortable. Then, almost without prompting, Daniel's voice dropped. "I lost my wife 2 years ago. Car accident. Lily was barely 4. He stared into the flames. Since then, I've buried myself in work. But every day, I wonder if I'm enough for her, if I'm failing her. Emily listened quietly, hands resting in her lap. When she spoke, her voice was steady. You're not failing her. You love her. That matters. After a pause, she added softly, I know what it's like to feel you're not enough. I work 3 jobs. The hospital, home visits, anything I can find. It barely covers my mother's dialysis. Daniel turned toward her, surprised. 3 jobs? And you still come here? Emily offered a tired smile. Lily's worth every minute. Their conversation left a fragile thread between them, one of shared burdens and unexpected understanding. Yet not everyone welcomed the bond. In hushed tones, the staff whispered behind marble walls. Why does Mr. Pierce spend so much time with her? A nurse, hardly his equal. Daniel ignored the murmurs. His thoughts lingered on Emily long after she left each evening. Her laughter in the halls, her kindness toward Lily, the resilience shining beneath her worn appearance. All of it drew him in. For Emily, too, the lines began to blur. The cold, guarded toe revealed glimpses of the man beneath, a father weighed down by grief, yet fiercely devoted. One morning, as Emily entered Lily's room with a basket of new storybooks, the little girl beamed. Miss Emily, Daddy says you're my guardian angel. Emily knelt, brushing hair from Lily's brow. I think you already have plenty of angels looking after you. But you're the best one. The words lingered in the air, carrying more truth than Emily dared admit. And somewhere deep within the towering walls of Hawthorne Estate, 2 worlds once divided by circumstance were beginning to meet, bound by love for a child, and by something neither of them could yet name. Thunder rolled across the night sky, shaking the glass panes of Hawthorne Estate. Rain hammered the roof in relentless sheets. Inside, Emily read softly to Lily, her voice a soothing presence in the dimly lit room. Suddenly, the child tensed. Her small body stiffened, eyes wide with terror. Then came the jerking movements, violent, uncontrollable. Daniel! Emily shouted. Footsteps thundered up the stairs. Daniel burst into the room, face pale as he took in the sight of his daughter convulsing. Emily's voice cut through the panic. She's seizing. Call an ambulance. Now! Daniel fumbled with his phone, heart racing. But the dispatcher's voice came grim through the line. Roads are flooded. Response delayed. They can't get here, he choked. Emily's gaze hardened. Then we do this ourselves. She sprang into action, laying Lily safely on her side, cushioning her head. Her fingers moved deftly, checking airways, timing the seizure. Stay with me, Lily. You're safe. I've got you. Daniel hovered, helpless. His wealth, his influence, none of it mattered now. Minutes dragged like hours. Lily's small frame trembled beneath Emily's hands. Come on, sweetheart, she whispered. You're stronger than this. Finally, the spasms eased. Lily lay still, her chest rising in shallow breaths. Emily sagged with relief, her own hands trembling now. Daniel knelt beside her. His voice cracked. You saved her. Tears welled in his eyes as he looked from his fragile daughter to the woman who had just fought for her life. Emily glanced at him, exhausted. She'll need monitoring, but she's stable. Daniel reached for her hand, firm, sincere. I can't lose you two. The words hung in the air, raw and unguarded. Emily swallowed hard, emotion welling behind tired eyes. Neither spoke further. The storm raged outside, but within that room, something deeper had shifted. Daniel's heart had found its anchor, and Emily's place in their lives was no longer a question. It was a certainty. In the weeks after the storm, life inside Hawthorne Estate changed. Emily's visits extended beyond duty. She stayed for late dinners, quiet talks by the fire, and sun-dappled afternoons in the garden with Lily. Between soft smiles and lingering glances, something unspoken grew between her and Daniel. An invisible thread neither dared name aloud. One crisp evening, Daniel approached her in the sunroom. His voice held an unfamiliar warmth. There's a gala this Saturday. I want you to come with me. Not as staff, as my guest. Emily hesitated. Are you sure? That's your world, and you belong in it, he said simply. Reluctantly, she agreed. The night of the gala arrived. Under the glittering lights of a grand ballroom, Emily stood by Daniel's side in a simple, elegant dress, her presence drawing every eye. For Daniel, none of it mattered. The only person he saw was her. But not everyone welcomed her. From the shadows, whispers spread like wildfire. The CEO dating a nurse? Unthinkable. She doesn't belong here. Board members exchanged pointed glances. Media cameras flashed with thinly veiled interest. The next morning, pressure mounted. Your image, Daniel, warned a senior board member. This relationship threatens it. Think of the company. Daniel's jaw tightened. I won't be told who I can care about. But the words weighed on him. Meanwhile, Emily overheard fragments of a cruel conversation near the marble staircase. Social climbing, that's all she's doing. Her heart sank. Later that evening, in the quiet of the library, Emily faced Daniel. I can't be the reason you lose everything, she said softly. I won't ruin your reputation. Daniel reached for her hand, but she withdrew gently. Please understand, she whispered, then slipped away. Left alone, Daniel stood torn, between the world he'd built and the woman who had healed both his daughter's heart and his own. For the first time in years, the path forward seemed anything but clear. Weeks passed. The distance between Emily and Daniel grew, yet neither could silence what lingered beneath. The company's annual awards gala approached, a glittering affair designed to showcase peers holding strength. Daniel was expected to deliver the closing speech, polished, strategic, impersonal. But his heart was elsewhere. On the night of the event, the ballroom shimmered beneath crystal chandeliers. Executives mingled, reporters hovered, waiting for their headlines. Backstage, Daniel stood alone. In his breast pocket, a small velvet box rested, a decision made against every voice of caution. When the moment came, Daniel took the stage. Applause echoed, cameras flashed. He began with practiced ease, recapping milestones, honoring his team. Then a pause. His gaze swept the room. Tonight, I'm expected to speak as a CEO, he said slowly. But I must speak as something else, a father, and a man whose life was changed. The room stilled. Months ago, I made a desperate call. I reached the wrong number, or so I thought. A nurse answered. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Daniel continued, voice steady. Without this woman, I would not have my daughter today. Without her, I would not have hope. He looked toward the back. Emily stood frozen near the entrance, Lily beside her in a pale blue dress. You all know me as a CEO, but without this woman, I wouldn't have my daughter or my heart. Gasps echoed. Board members stiffened. Cameras clicked furiously. Daniel stepped down from the podium, crossing the floor with measured strides. Before Emily could retreat, he knelt before her. Emily Carter, will you marry me? Tears welled in her eyes. Daniel, are you sure? He smiled. I've never been more certain. Emily trembled, heart racing. With a breathless yes, she reached for his hand. A joyful squeal broke the moment. Lily dashed forward, wrapping her arms around them both. The crowd erupted, some in cheers, others in stunned silence. Daniel held them close, the weight of public opinion forgotten. Later, beneath soft moonlight, the family stood in the estate's garden. Emily knelt by the roses, helping Lily tuck tiny bulbs into the soil. Daniel watched them, love plain in his eyes. From a single wrong call at 3 a.m., they had found something neither expected. Not duty, not obligation. Family. Forever. If you enjoyed this story, ensure to like, share, and subscribe for more amazing, heartfelt stories like this. Also, let us know where you are watching from, and drop your thoughts in the comments. What did you think of Emily's compassion, Daniel's transformation, and little Lily's unbreakable spirit? Would you have answered that wrong call at 3 a.m.? We love hearing your reflections. Stay tuned for more inspiring tales where love and kindness overcome all odds. Until next time, keep believing in the power of simple acts to change lives forever.